Hi, and welcome to Cooking Fast and Eating Light, where I am cooking with 5-ish ingredients or less because I really want to break down the barrier to healthy eating. I think eating well should not have to take a lot of time, and healthy food should taste really good. I'm Judy Matusky. I am a registered dietitian, and I am also a culinary nutritionist with Athens Nutrition. So welcome to everyone who's joining me in my kitchen live right now, and also to anybody who's going to watch this on the replay. So I've been getting some questions about summer salads, and some of you wanted a few more ideas of things you can do during the summer when it's hot and you just don't really want to do a whole lot of cooking. So I thought, what better salad than to introduce you to than Dakos. And Dakos is a very traditional Greek salad that is found on the island of Crete. And I was, fortunate enough several years ago with my family to travel over to Crete. And this was absolutely one of my favorite salads. It was really served everywhere. And what I love about it, it's very few ingredients and it takes like 5 minutes to put together. So the key here though is that if you're gonna make a salad like this, you really do wanna do it in the peak of like summer freshness, so that when the produce is really nice and ripe and everything's tasting really good, particularly tomatoes. And we know that it is tomato season right now. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what is in this salad, because I know it sounds like it's probably a little bit different and unusual, but it really isn't. So let's walk through it. We're going to be using some really great fresh tomatoes. These are some Sun Golds from our garden. Just brought those in this morning. So we'll be cooking with those. We're going to use some Kalamata olives. We're going to use some feta, some basil, some oregano. And the unusual ingredient in this is something called barley rusks. And barley rusks are basically it's barley bread that has been double baked. So it is super crunchy. You really can't eat it as is, even as a crouton. It's just really hard. But I'll show you how we sort of soften it a little bit. So this is an ingredient that I'm able to find at a local Euro market near me, which is over in Broomall. But you can order them online, because before I realized I could pick them up locally, I was ordering them off Amazon, or you can find another like Mediterranean or European kind of market. They will carry them. And they are barley based, which is a little bit unusual because it's really hard to find anything that's like 100% barley, and these are. But I know that some of you aren't going to be able to find these particular rusks. So a good alternative, which you can find in any supermarket, would be to use some of these like flatbed bread crackers. A Wasa brand, a multi-grain. Most of these are going to be about like 100% rye flour, which is great because they're equally as whole grain as the rusk, and that's really what we're looking for. They are not gluten-free, so this is not really a great recipe for anyone that needs to follow a gluten-free plan. You would have to probably use a gluten-free bread and sort of like double toast it to get it really nice and crunchy. All right, so those are some of the ingredients, but what I really want to do right now is I am changing this up. So we're going to do this 2 ways. We're going to do just a fresh chopped tomato on top of the rusk for the Dakos, but I also wanted to show you a very simple and easy summer tomato sauce. You can make this actually year-round, but in the summer, obviously, it's going to be great because you're going to have these fresh tomatoes. But in the winter, what I usually do is I'll make this sauce with just using cherry or grape tomatoes, because these are just so sweet all year round. And what I love about this sauce is that it's not one of those sauces where you have to cook it for a long period of time to really develop and mellow out those tomato flavors. This is meant to be a very quick, fast sauce. So I have a pan going here over the heat, and I put my burner plate over here rather than cooking on the stove, because I thought this angle I think is a little bit better. But this stove is hot. I'm like standing next to it. I'm like, whoa. All right, so I'm going to put probably at least 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of this pan. And again, not being too shy with olive oil. The base of Cretan cooking really does use a fair amount of olive oil. But it also is balanced with really healthy ingredients. So I'm going to use that. We want the olive oil in that tomato sauce, and just as a little added bonus, the lycopene, or the plant compound that's a pretty powerful antioxidant that's found in tomatoes, it's best absorbed when it's in the presence of fat. So this oil is really going to help to absorb that lycopene, which is sort of a cancer-fighting compound. So it's a really sort of healthy thing that we really, really do want to have within our diet. All right, so I'm going to put those in, and then I smashed the garlic cloves. I don't want them chopped because I'm going to take them out. I just really want them to give a little bit of garlic flavor within the oil. So I'm going to put those in. I'm going to kind of let those go a little bit. Just want to flavor that oil. And what I'm going to add to this, which is a little bit unusual, maybe that you maybe aren't used to using in a tomato sauce, is I'm going to use some fennel seeds. And fennel seeds just add this amazing flavor. It's like a subtle, not like, I want to say licorice, but you know, anise, sort of anise flavor, but in a subtle way. So it's just in the background. It adds a little depth of flavor, and it also really brings out a subtle sweetness, I think, to the tomatoes as well. So as soon as these start to get going, which they are, I'm going to add these. The one thing that you don't want to do is you don't really want to burn this garlic, and you don't want to burn the fennel seeds. So we're just doing this for just a little bit, and I'm going to now add about a half a teaspoon of fennel seeds into this oil, just so that we can kind of bloom that flavor a little bit, but not too long. We don't really want them burned because that's just really not a great flavor. All right, so we have them in. We're just going to get these going, and then that's really literally maybe 30 seconds that we really want them in the oil. And then we're going to add our tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Sun Gold tomatoes from the garden since I have them. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in. And I'm just going to get them going. Oh, I got little stems on the top of some of these. All right, so let's get this going. I can hear it sizzling, which is what we want. Let me take some of these stems off. And I'm going to just pierce a few of these because I really do want a little bit of this tomato. I want the tomato juice to come out of the tomatoes right now, just so I can sort of bring the temperature down in the bottom of the pan so that I don't burn this fennel. So I'm going to get that going. All right. And this is going to cook down really quickly. I'm telling you, it doesn't take more than 10 minutes. So I think we'll be in our window to get this done in time. All right. So that while that's going, why don't we start to assemble the Dakos? All right. So just going to take a little plate, and these are super, super easy to put together. So we're going to take one of these large Dakos. And like I said, they are really crunchy. There is no way you're eating this like this unless you really want a broken tooth. So to soften it up, it's tricky because you want to soften it a little bit, but you still want to retain that crunch because that's the whole point of the Dakos. So what you do is you just take this Dakos, and I know you're not going to see me because it's going to be off camera, but I'm going to just run this under, like super quickly, a little bit of running water, just to get some water to start to absorb into the Dakos. So literally, you're just sort of waving it under. And then that's it. It's not much. So you're going to put a little bit of water on there. Then we're going to drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil. All right. And when you're eating this type of a eating plan, like the Mediterranean style of eating, it is probably, well, you know, it would win the Academy Awards as far as diets go, because it certainly is the #1 diet in U.S. News and World Report almost every single year. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's just a really incredibly healthy eating pattern. And it's not really a diet. It's so delicious that, you know, I feel like diets sometimes seem like they would be, you know, they kind of deprive you of really healthy food. No, this is the opposite of that. It's absolutely wonderful. And it comes with, comes with so many incredible flavors. But when it comes to Crete, you know, a lot of the original studies were done back in the 1950s, 60s, looking at the traditional diet in Crete and why there was such a low rate of heart disease on that island. And it really, although their fat intake was relatively high, but the fat that they were consuming really is a heart-healthy monounsaturated fat from olives, olive oil, walnuts, and other kinds of nuts, and certainly they were including a lot of fish in their diet. So we're, sort of trying to mimic that pattern as best we can here in the United States, which is not easy to do because there are some very traditional foods that were being grown on the island that we have a harder time replicating here. And certainly the soil is a little bit different and their animals are free range. So we can't necessarily completely replicate it, but we can certainly get pretty close. So we'll talk a little bit about a couple ingredients I'll share with you that my husband has growing in our backyard, which we are sort of trying to replicate almost the island of Crete right now because we have so many fabulous things growing out there, and I'll show you a few in a minute. All right, so I just put a little bit of olive oil on this Dakos. So for this Dakos, I'm going to use the chopped fresh cherry tomatoes. They're just going to go right on top. And then what we're going to do after that is you kind of just want to, really kind of pile them on. And then we're going to add a little bit of fresh chopped basil. If you watched the other video that I did where I showed you when I was making pesto and I showed you that big basil plant, this is basil. It's still coming off of that huge plant. I've been eating it and putting it on just about everything. It's going in my salads. It's going on top of every pasta dish I make. It's going on top of our eggs. We're using a lot of basil, which is fine with me. So this is just some fresh basil coming off of that plant from my garden. And I do have a little bit of fresh oregano as well. So I'm going to sprinkle that right on top. Again, fresh oregano is very different than dried oregano. Dried oregano is pretty pungent. So if you're using dried oregano, a little sprinkle is going to go a long way. Fresh oregano, you can use a little bit more. It's just, a little fresher. It's not quite as strong. And then we're going to top it with some Kalamata olives. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5. We're just going to chop those right up. And then we're going to take some really good fresh feta cheese. So sprinkling those right on top. Sprinkling that cheese and giving it, it's just such a beautiful salad too. It's so pretty. All right, let me just wipe off my hands. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to give it a little drizzle of a little bit more olive oil just across the top. All right. And that is it. I'm telling you, 5 minutes. So here's this absolutely beautiful summer salad that what I love about this is that you could really eat this at any meal. I'm certainly not, you could be doing this for breakfast. But what I love about it is that it really helps that that barley rusk brings some satiety to this, some little bit of heft to the salad. So you're getting this great whole grain, and you're going to get the fiber to help, certainly with satiety if you're feeling a little bit hungry. All right, and then it's balanced with the fresh herbs and the tomato and a little bit of olive oil. So from a macronutrient standpoint, it's such a nice balanced salad that it really can be a meal. What I would do with this, though, I would even build this a little bit more, and I would add a traditional kind of Greek salad to it. So I might make that, but then on the side, maybe some chopped cucumbers, some more tomatoes, maybe a little bit more feta. And the one thing that I want to share with you is something called purslane. And purslane is very traditional on the island of Crete. When we were there, we did not get any lettuce because it's just hot and it's hard to grow lettuce. So what showed up in our salads was always this leafy green, and it's called purslane. It is something that you don't really find in markets, which is unfortunate around here. But it is a very rich, nutrient-rich green, and it's very unique. And I think that's, again, has something to do with maybe some of these health benefits that we're seeing from, the lifestyle in Crete. But it's very rich in something called ALA, which is a plant version of omega-3 fatty acids. So not only are, Cretan diets high in regular omega-3 fatty acids with fish, but very high in plant-based omega-3s, and it's called ALA. And these also, what's interesting is that the purslane is also then consumed by the animals, so they're eating the purslane off the side of the mountains and in the fields, so that they're not only, then their meat is also going to be richer in ALA or omega-3 fatty acids compared to some of the meat we might have here in the States. So what's great about it is that you can grow it. So my husband has this growing in our garden, and it really takes off like a weed. It's so easy. If you buy some purslane seeds, put them in your garden, they'll really grow pretty well. And it kind of grows all summer because it takes the heat pretty well. It will start to go to seed if you're not kind of keeping up with it. But anyway, so if you, it's going to be hard to find in a market, but if you want to grow it and just try it, I would highly suggest it because it's really interesting. It has a nice little crunch. It's a little lemony, but so if you're going to put the salad together, I would kind of do both. So, you know, maybe have this salad and then do sort of have like a traditional side salad with maybe some olive oil and vinegar. But isn't that gorgeous? I just think it's so, you know, when you're going to eat healthy, you really, I always say it really should look really good as well. All right, so let's finish up this sauce. All right, so we've got, these tomatoes have already broken down that quickly in what, 10 minutes that we were here. So they're gonna, you kind of want this to sort of cook and get a little jammy, you know, so you really do want that, the juice from the tomatoes to just sort of simmer out. But this is pretty much done. And then I would just take it off the heat. And to finish it, I would add a little bit of fresh basil. Why not, since I have so much of it. And I would add a little bit of fresh oregano. Just a few sprigs of that. I have the fennel in there. I'm gonna do just a ground, you know, I love ground pepper, so it's gonna go into everything that I cook, so a little ground pepper. And you'll probably wanna add a little pinch, oh, sorry about that, a little pinch of salt. All right, and that's it. So this isn't traditional as far as putting something like this on a rusk, you know. Well, the traditional Greek salad of Dakos is really using fresh tomatoes, but I really love it with a fresh tomato sauce as well. And what's nice about it is the sauce really, so again, you would run this under water just to get it, just to start to soften it up. And here would be a little bit of olive oil, just like we did with the regular salad, the other salad. And then I would take some of this sauce and I would put it on top. And what's really nice about when you use a tomato sauce, it does help to, it really sort of soaks into the barley rusk, and it helps to soften the rusk, but it doesn't over soften it. So there's still a nice little crunch. So you could do it two ways. So if you wanted to, you could do a real quick tomato sauce, and then you'd finish it the same way. You know, I would put the olives and the feta and a little more olive oil on top. So you could have it more, you know, something a little, you can use a hot sauce on top of this, or you could do it as a cold salad, all right? So here are your options. And like I said, if you're not able to find the barley rusks, which I know are a little more challenging, but you can get them online, then I would switch to something like a rye crisp, or, you know, Wasa, as I showed you earlier. They have the flatbread, so they sort of look like this. They're just thin wafers. I would probably use two of them and top them, you know, separately with all of these ingredients. These obviously you don't need to run underwater. They're not that crunchy. So that would be a really good alternative. All right, I think that is it. So there is a very simple summer salad that 5 minutes and, you know, 5 ingredients. So it doesn't get a whole lot easier than that. If you want more recipes, please check them out, athensnutrition.com. Give us your email. We will make sure that you get any new recipes that are being posted. I'll be back here again next Thursday with another great recipe. Thank you so much for joining me, and you guys have a fantastic afternoon. And if you have comments, I have to apologize. Because I'm doing this on my phone, I'm not able to see comments if you're commenting while I'm cooking, but I will make sure that when this is over, that if you have any questions or any comments, I will absolutely get back to you once I'm able to get to my computer. So please let those comments come in, and also please let me know if there's anything in particular that you would like me to cook or prepare. I did get some questions about doing some healthier desserts, so I think that's what I'm going to be doing with you next week. All right, you guys have a great day, and take care. Bye-bye.